I'm Bruce Apar, and this is Frank J. Rich, and you're watching Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog. Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog is brought to you by Chase Media Group, which is a provider of multimedia marketing solutions for an omni-channel marketplace, and also happens to be publisher of the Penny Saver, the timeless Penny Saver. And we thank our CEO, Colin Chase, and my co-host, Frank J. Rich, for putting us here on every show. And however you may be watching us, what you may not be aware of is that we're also available through YouTube by going to Townlink TV, searching on YouTube for Townlink TV, and all of the past shows will come up. And if you haven't seen the show before, what we do is talk about really interesting people and bring you interesting people in the community who are making important contributions to the quality of life, not just to the immediate area, by the way, but also to the world at large. And we want to welcome, in that vein, Beth and Scott Bierko, who do a lot of interesting and very, very worthwhile things that we're going to be talking about for the next 30 minutes. They are, in a phrase, children's entertainers, but that, of course, doesn't begin to really explain all the things you do. And I'm just going to quickly read that you are teaching artists, songwriters, workshop leaders, actors, keynote presenters, recording artists, parents, and TV guests, by the way. So anyhow, welcome.
Thank you, Bruce.
And why don't, however you want to split up the chores, just explain for the audience what you do, especially with regard to schools, when you go into a school and all the different things you do in conjunction with the schools in helping to teach students about things like character education.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll start.
Sure.
So we're celebrating our 23rd year as teaching artists. And we believe that the arts are a great way, a critical way for children to learn, and as well as just great fun. So we do assembly programs where we do a presentation for the children that reinforces elements of the curriculum. We do workshops with the kids, and also residencies where we get to be in the building for an extended period of time, either doing workshops with larger groups of children or, again, meeting with the same groups for a more extended period of time to kind of delve in a little bit deeper to the subject matter that we're working with.
And often you are brought into the school, you were saying, Beth, before, by the PTA, for example, right? That might be one way, or and before we forget, let's make sure people who are watching know how they would be able to get in touch with you if they'd like you to do this in their school district. They can go to your website, I imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. bethandscott.net.
Right.
bethandscott.net.
Right.
bethandscott.com are two lovely basket makers from down south.
Oh, okay, really?
Yes, we tried to get their website, but they were just really good and had an entrenched following of their basket making business, and they wanted it and they got it. So we're bethandscott.net, okay, unless you need a basket.
That was very considerate of you. But one of the actually, what I've known you, both of you, for years is through various channels, and I know all the great work you do. I know you've performed publicly. I know in Yorktown, for example, this show goes to a very wide area, and I know you perform in other towns as well. But I remember you being Yorktown at the what was it, maybe movie night?
Movie night.
You opened movie night, outdoor movie night that they have every summer.
Yes.
All of the Disney characters request us every year.
Really? Wow, that's great.
Yes, we're very lucky that way.
And what caught my attention just most recently is your anti-bullying program that you're now doing. And so let's talk about that a little bit, because of course anti-bullying, and I, at the same time, by coincidence, I saw that there's actually a state law, right, regarding anti-bullying in the schools.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Every state, and New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, where we perform a lot, has come out with programming in the schools using the teachers and having programs where they bring in artists to reinforce that. And that's what we do, is that we'll come in for K-2 and we'll do our Golden Rule show. We'll come in for 3rd grade through 5th grade and we'll do our Do the Right Thing show. Or as Beth said, we might come in and do a songwriting program where we're delving into topics that have to do with bullying behavior.
Right. So when you say songwriting, do you write the songs before? Do you write it with the kids when you're in the school, or?
Oh, it's all done live.
Oh, okay.
It's all done live.
So the writing of the song.
Yeah, well, and you know, one of the things that occurs to me is that we're shooting this here in Peekskill today.
Yeah.
And right here locally, we have the Hillcrest Elementary School. And last year, we were fortunate to be hired by the school to work with their 4th and 5th grade. And we wrote about 24 songs, lots of them having to do with character education and anti-bullying. And so actually, this might be a good time to ask Richard to roll that tape so we can hear what the kids have to say about this topic.
Right. And this, and by the way, as he gets it going, so you're saying the kids helped with this song? Okay.
They did.
That way before. If you're feeling sad, you can talk to me, 'cause I felt that way before. If you are embarrassed, I will comfort you, 'cause I felt that way before. Put yourself in someone else's shoes, so you can understand what someone's feeling. Instead of being mean, we all can choose to be caring and to show some empathy. If you're feeling joy, I'll be happy for you, 'cause I felt that way before. If you're feeling lonely, I will stay with you, 'cause I felt that way before. Put yourself in someone else's shoes, so you can understand what someone's feeling. Instead of being mean, we all can choose to be caring and to show some empathy. Put yourself in someone else's shoes, so you can understand what someone's feeling. Instead of being mean, we all can choose to be caring and to show some empathy.
So were we hearing the kids from that school, and that's so you recorded that live?
Yes, that was Ms. Owen's class from the Hillcrest School, and what Hillcrest was doing at the time, and many other schools are as well, is that they're building in character education into the curriculum, and a lot of the classes were given an element of good character, so respect or responsibility. In Ms. Owen's class's case, they were working on empathy. So we came in as songwriters and said to the kids, you know, what do we know about empathy? Why is it important? What does it mean to be empathetic? So it involves rich classroom discussion and then taking those ideas and moving them into an art form. So the kids we're collaborating with the children to write the lyrics. So they're also learning, you know, the elements of poetry, of meter and rhyme scheme. Main idea of is in the chorus, and the supporting details are in the verses. So it's a really great way to build the writing curriculum, and the music makes it a little more interesting and changes it up for the children. The other beauty of music, I think, is that, one of the best ways to learn is through repetition. And we all have those favorite songs that, sometimes you can't get them out of your head even if you want to.
Right.
So the idea is that if there's important things we want the kids to be learning, that once they're in this song, they're going to hear it over and over again. And it was lovely because with each program, the children get a CD copy of not only their song, but what every other class has created. So then they get to hear, this is what, Mrs. Smith's class did, or this is what Mr. Johnson's class did. And so they're starting to compare and appreciate each other's work. And so it's really a very wonderful collaborative process in the writing experience itself and throughout the building.
Oh, so how many different classes did you engage with?
In that particular school is about 24 classes. It's a big
Wow.
school.
Yes.
So that was a lot of writing.
And over what period of time did that take place?
I think that one was probably about a month total in time, maybe 3 weeks.
With snow days, it extended a
Yeah.
little
Wow.
because it was a tough winter. But yes, and so we were meeting with each classroom twice. So it was the first time to kind of pick the topic, and again, it was over the course of the 2 days. It's the idea of picking the topic, writing the song, rehearsing, and recording.
And my goal, just to piggyback on what Bruce asked about anti-bullying,
Right.
is to help children using the arts create that little space between something that they're feeling or thinking about or seeing. Let's say they're on a schoolyard with another child, and all of a sudden that child is showing, because they've had a bad day, they're angry. And something's about to happen in that moment. And I want that kid to take a breath and to remember, put yourself in someone else's shoes so you can understand what they're feeling.
Yep.
And be able to have a conversation with that other child.
Right.
Because anti-bullying is not just the administration or the teachers telling children, stop, don't do that. It's also about kids recognizing what's special about themselves and about one another, so that they're doing something else during their day rather than bullying. They're being creative. They're being good communicators. They're being good leaders with one another. They're inspiring one another to be better people.
And by the way, Scott, as you're saying that, what occurs to me, both Frank and I are writers and we deal a lot with words, and it's understandable but somewhat unfortunate that it has to be defined for what it's not. Meaning, right, the phrasing is it's anti-bullying, it's against bullying, and what you're saying is, well, okay, that malaise exists, but but the way it should be, the corrective action, or the way it could be corrected, is by the positive converse of that. Right?
We want to be
Exactly.
we want to be part of a community. We all want to be part of a community where everybody's living to their full potential.
Right.
And when we have a community that does that, we all feel inspired to be the best that we can be and have good friendships.
Right.
I think it's also that we're in a culture of doing. So when we have discussions, especially with younger children, if we were to talk about something about anti-bullying, well, don't hit, don't
Right,
tease,
don't.
don't. And so our question to them is always, so what do we do instead?
Right.
Because
Right.
it's they need to know what is the alternative.
Right.
So my frustration is if it's don't get angry. We're humans. I don't know a person on the planet who doesn't get angry. So it's
Right.
not about don't feel that way. And that's one of the reasons I was so touched by what the Mrs. Owens kids came up with, was that I've felt that way before. We all have days when we're angry or embarrassed or sad.
Yeah.
It's what's the choice we make in that moment. And the choice of taking it out on somebody else is not a skilled choice. And so what do we do instead? Maybe we talk to somebody, or we count to 10, or we walk away until we can cool down. And it's building in those sorts of skills. What do you do when you meet a new kid? Well, don't tease. Well, that's great, don't tease, but what if we actually went the step beyond that and said, hey, come sit at the lunch table with us?
Right.
How would that, and so that's part of our goal in the assemblies and in these workshop programs, is to illustrate that.
Right.
And affirm that with the songs.
And what grade, in this case, this is in elementary school, the Hillcrest School.
Right,
So
fourth
what
and fifth grades.
Or grades were you dealing with?
In this case, fourth and fifth.
Okay.
This program works well from first grade on up. So regardless, whatever they have, wherever, like Beth was saying, that don't do this, don't do that, that might be applicable for first graders.
Right.
Where they're learning the rules of their school, especially during September and October. So we'd write a song with them about what the rules are for the classroom and for playing outside.
Right.
And the truth is, we run the gamut. We've worked with children and played locally in preschools up through upper elementary. So that's why we created two different programs. So when we're working with children in K-2, it's the golden rule, and we try to keep it simple. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And the messages that we do through stories and songs and humor are about sharing, following the rules, being respectful, being responsible. When we get into upper elementary, that 3rd through 5th or 6th, you start to get into murkier waters,
Yes, right.
right? So that's
Yeah.
where things start to change. So in that program, we're talking more about actual physical interactions. We're talking about gossip. We're talking about exclusion. And we know that's unfortunately a lot of the problem now, and especially with all the online communications. It used to be if something happened in a classroom, maybe other kids in the class knew about it. Now with technology, while it has its benefits, I think one of the challenges and problems with it is that, one incident can get blasted to hundreds, if not thousands of people, and is much more noticeable and that much more upsetting for anyone who's the victim of that kind of treatment.
Right.
It's also reminding me.
So-called cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying,
Right.
exactly.
Cyberbullying.
And so that's where, again, it's think before you act. Try to put yourself in that other person's place. And one of the things that I always share with the kids is, this isn't something that even our grown-ups have figured out. We do our anti-gossiping song, GOSSIPING. I say to them, if you've ever been to the supermarket and we see the tabloids, we see who got fat, who got thin, who had a baby, who got divorced. So we haven't figured it out.
Right. and I also think it's worth noting, unfortunately, that with bullying or cyber, it's not just kids stuff, because anybody who pays attention to the news knows there have been tragic extreme cases where the victim, the bullied person, actually committed suicide. I mean, so this is not just they're just kids. No, they're not. It's not just kids being kids in every case. Sometimes it can lead to to somebody just wanting to end it all if they can't deal with it, right?
Serious consequences.
Right.
And I think that's what it is. It's connecting our choices. We really frame it in the place of choices. That we all have a choice. And, so we have a choice to sort of make somebody's day a little brighter. And sometimes it's the simplest things. The way we end our show is with a song by our friend Patty Zaitlin called Angels. And we actually custom write lyrics. We actually talk to the school ahead of time and say, who are people in your school community that are role models for the kids? And they'll sometimes tell us about the janitor who is, goes up, above and beyond. We've heard about a group of 5th grade girls who all cut their hair for locks of love.
Yeah.
We hear about that teacher who's retiring, that everybody is dreading the day because he or she was such a force. Right. Or the gym teacher that, is everybody's favorite because he or she makes the learning so much fun. So we honor them and really say to the kids, so our role is to acknowledge those people who are, because we all have so many blessings in our life and we forget to notice those. And also to remember that the choices we make can be a blessing to somebody else, even if it's something as simple as handing somebody that pencil if they forgot their own, or picking up their homework if they were sick.
Right.
And that really does start to create a sense of community. And the best buildings we've been in is where it is a school-wide program, where the principal and the teachers and everyone in administration and in the school and the parents are all on board. It's challenging if administration is saying, we talk our problems out, and the teachers are hearing from their students, my dad says if somebody hits me, I hit them back. Right. Or, hey, if something's happening, talk to an adult, and a kid goes to the lunch aide and says, I'm being bullied, and she says, sit down and shut up. Which is, and And again, maybe it's that person having their own bad day, and that's an extreme example. But I think it really is
there's
it's a community-wide piece for us
here-
to all
Here's one of the things that we
model.
all have to know is that nowhere in the education of a teacher, when they're being formally educated at college, is there discussion about ethics and about character education. So they come to a school not having that in their toolbox.
About the teachers?
The teachers. They
Even
come to a
sometimes
school,
classroom management isn't, they learn.
so they learn on the job, hopefully as student teachers to some degree, but they learn on the job how they're going to interact with their population. And hopefully they have a principal who's going to be the guiding force. And hopefully they have parents who are going to be teaching their kids. But increasingly what we've found over the last 23 years is that attention spans are shorter,
Yeah.
that bullying is increasing, and that makes it even more important for everybody to take this seriously. Now, I do want to point out, though, that even though Beth and I take this subject extremely seriously, it's our life, when we present it to children, it's done with a very light and deft touch.
Right.
So we use humor, we use theater, we use a lot of interactive on-stage participation. When the kids are recording their songs, it's a lot of fun.
Right. And people can go to your website and see the videos, right?
Oh, sure.
Because one of the ones I was just watching the other day, which was really great, is when both of you are up there, and who's the character, Joe, and you're like both sitting on the stools, and then you see shots of everybody in the audience doing the same thing you're doing.
Well, it's fun.
Right.
The first two songs
Yeah.
of any show are about building trust with the audience.
Right.
And that's an example of doing a song, and this is a great point for anybody who's watching who's a teacher or who gets in front of children. Before you get into the heart of your subject matter, have laughs and move around.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And,
Well-
and then introduce.
That draws people in. Yeah.
Right.
It does, and the other thing too is even with brain research, we've known for years, this old camp show song, "Hello, my name is Joe," where the audience ends up
Right.
here. I used to say, now how do I explain to somebody that that's educational? Well, the
Right.
brain research has done it for us, because what we found is that children learn best when the body has been really warmed up. That cross-lateral movement starts to connect the two sides of the brain to each other, and it helps to get the brain reading ready. And that shaking up vestibular fluid, again, sort of activates the learning centers in the brain. And so, while somebody might look at it and say, how is this educational? It is that sense of, again, building community. And also when we're engaged and when we feel connected, that's when we actually learn the most.
Right. Well, it's always releasing the endorphins in the brain, right?
You
Things
got
like
it.
that. Yeah.
Exactly.
And speaking of live performance and doing the right thing, that's your cue, Scott.
I think it
That's
is.
right, we'll do our song. So this is a song from the opening of our older elementary show called "Do the Right Thing."
Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Now whether someone's watching you or even if they're not, every day you gotta show all the character you got. 'Cause everybody has a part. It's called being a voice. It always guides you to the truth, and that's the bravest job. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing.
Wow, very good. That was excellent. That was really good.
That's right. You are doing some extraordinary work. It seems not only the modeling that asks people to get in touch with their innermost feelings, so that they can relate to each other as human beings, but also develop what you call skilled responses. Not unlike the models used in business. Often you are encouraging people, depending on their level of participation, from direction to encouragement to coaching, and then to delegation, so to speak. So once learned, how do you perform on your own without the help of another, so to speak?
That's right, Frank.
Yeah.
And I think that when we started our career, we recognized that there are a lot of bumper stickers out there about what kids should and shouldn't do. And Beth and I decided early on that we wanted to give practical advice. We wanted to build skills. And so everything that we do, a teacher can then follow up with their kids, a parent can then follow up with their kids and say, what did we learn there about how we want to treat another human being? And hopefully the child, through the affirmation of these songs, will assimilate that as well.
And one of the greatest compliments or greatest validations for me is when I hear a teacher say, you know, we took that song that you sang and we had a discussion about, you know, why was it helpful when, you know, when the aunt chose to stand up to the kid, or whatever it happens to be. We do a version of a Phil Ho's song and Hannah Ho's song called Hey Little Ant. So it's this, you know, sense of standing up for yourself, of a big creature and a lesser creature, so that what we do becomes this jumping off point for discussion, or even something as simple as we'll breathe with the audience. You know, when you're dealing with 200 to 500 kids in an assembly, right? We have a moment where we're singing or dancing or jumping around, and we need to collect ourselves. So, as a certified yoga teacher and a yoga practitioner, we'll have the audience take a nice deep breath. You know. And one of the local teachers actually at Brookside had said to me, I do that every day with my kids since the assembly.
Right.
Because, you know, they come in from lunch and recess, and there is this energy. So all of a sudden, it's really gratifying.
Let's take 3 deep breaths.
Okay,
You
ready?
can do it with us. Right.
In through your nose.
Yes.
One more.
Well, that was 3 deep breaths, and we have 2 more minutes left in this. Anyhow, but in the 2 minutes, I do want to acknowledge that you recently, congratulations, took over the Rivertown Yoga and Health Center, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And so, you know, whatever you want to say about that in the last 2 minutes, just to let people know that they can contact you through that website, right?
Sure. Well, Beth is the director
Right.
of the Rivertown Center for Yoga and Health. It's located in Dobbs Ferry, New York.
Right.
And we hold yoga classes there. We also do workshops in meditation. We have a great series of different things you can find out about online at rivertownyoga.com.
Right. Okay. Good.
And what
Right.
we've been doing is that mindfulness that is very inherent in yoga is something we've built into the music and the character education. And what we're doing at the yoga studio is building in our love of the arts. So we're bringing in live music with classes and singing circles, and even a program called Let Your Yoga Dance.
Oh, all right.
So it's a lovely cross-pollination.
Irony, we're teaching children to act more like adults, and we're teaching adults
to act like
more
children.
And by the way, you know, when winter comes,
Sounds biblical.
Yes.
you know, the thing is, when winter comes, you know, what's also popular is frozen yoga. Anyhow,
Really?
On that note,
Throw yoga.
anyhow, really, it's great having you. We can
Thank
have
you.
you all the time, and that would be fine with us. So thanks, Beth and Scott Bierko of Beth and Scott and Friends. And we're sorry we couldn't fit all the friends on camera, but you know, they're all here in support of you.
They're out
So,
there.
right. And remember, do the right thing. And thank you for watching Frank Talks with me, Bruce the Blog. And remember, also, when Bruce the Blog listens, people talk. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.